Trump the nomination, despite the votes. But at the moment they seem conflicted. China's liberals are in a bind, too. Anger and despair reign. They despise Trump. But they can't quite bring themselves to say that the moneyed elites are right and the people are wrong. Such an admission would not help them make their case for Western-style democracy in China. After all, if the people can be so wrong, how can you give them the vote? One popular liberal commentator described Trump supporters as forgotten Americans without college degrees and compared them to China's own Maoists. Pundits on Phoenix Television, an outlet on which many liberal pundits appear, either belittle him, for example, calling him "te da Pao," Trump the Big Mouth, or repeating common charges against him, such as that he is an ill-informed liar. Another liberal commentator called Trump a naked resemblance of fascism. The liberals are repulsed by Trump's illiberal outlook. Yet his big electoral wins make them rather tongue-tied, as they have been promoting elections as the only basis for political legitimacy. Indeed, the Trump phenomenon is forcing China to look beyond its two stereotypes of American democracy long served up by the experts. A more complex and realistic picture is emerging. Confusion and despair aside, most Chinese instinctively understand one central theme of the Trump phenomenon: class struggle. Just about every analysis in China points out the fact that Trump is getting most of his support from the working class. Some pundits are adopting American language to call Trump's rise the revenge of the 99%. The official newspaper China Youth Daily ran statistics showing the shrinkage of the American middle class to explain the Trump phenomenon. This is not surprising given China's Marxist heritage. Since the West won the Cold War, the Chinese have largely bought the idea that Western nations have successfully resolved class struggles through their democratic politics. As the Chinese suffered tremendously from extreme class struggles in their recent history, Western democracy seemed to have reached an enviable position by erasing class lines. But the Trump campaign is showing the world that this may be an illusion. America's working class is angry. The Chinese public might be surprised to know that many leading American thinkers have been making exactly this assessment. As David Frum wrote in The Atlantic, just before Trump started bringing in delegates at the ballot box, the current electoral mess is the culmination of decades of elite neglect and even betrayal of the interests of middle and working class Americans. Globalization, mostly championed by the elites, has benefited the wealthy as ordinary Americans have seen their incomes stagnate and decline. Multiculturalism, also promoted by the elites, has helped the rich and corporations. Immigration has brought lower labor costs and greater abundance of talent, while working Americans lost job opportunities and saw their community cohesion threatened by outsiders. One might add that similar sentiments seem to resonate among the Sanders supporters. As Michael Lind, co-founder of the New American Foundation, wrote in a 2014 essay, The Coming Realignment, the two political parties in America have long consisted of incoherent coalitions. On the Republican side, capitalist elites co-opted many working-class Americans by preaching about social values and identity. The Democrats, on the other hand, also had their own economic elites, who maintained an alliance with ordinary Americans who held liberal social views. In other words, both parties were dominated by the same Wall Street and corporate elites who promoted similar substantive policies that disregarded the economic interests of their own grassroots constituents. In short, the two political parties had absorbed, or repressed, class conflicts within the party structures as a way to remain viable dominant forces at the national level. Lind predicted that the structure was not sustainable. As social values receded as a main political fault line in American politics, working Americans would unite and fight for their economic interests. This realignment would cut across party lines. Lind was unsure which one of the two parties would become the political base for the newly self-aware working class.